Man Tools is brought to you by
EXO Auto Works. EXO Auto Works is Colorado Springs' home of the $50 synthetic blend oil change. Call now, 719-375-3232, or visit exoautoworks.com to make your appointment.
Madrid Maintenance. Madrid Maintenance offers excellent handyman service in the Colorado Springs area, starting at just $45 an hour. You can reach them by phone at 719-963-2020 or online at facebook.com/Madrid Maintenance.
Enharmonic Studios. Enharmonic Studios is a hybrid digital analog facility designed to be quality and affordable to anyone who wants to make history. Call today, 719-963-2020, or go to facebook.com/Enharmonic Studios.
Kids, you hate gender?
Yeah!
Then get the brand new androgynous action person, G.I. Pack!
Cool!
G.I. Pack gets rid of all the fun and excitement of G.I. Joes and replaces it with self-righteousness and anger.
This dino won't tell me its pronouns. Take this, Nazi.
G.I. Pack comes with awesome accessories like a commuter bike, a sword latte, and a cell phone with instant outrage self-reaction. Pro-life people should die!
Awesome!
Look out! Here comes G.I. Pack's greatest foe!
Marriage is between a man and a woman.
Mike Pence!
Mike Pence and the evil right-wingers will stop at nothing to destroy G.I. Pack, and it's up to you to fight back!
Right side of history! I'm dead!
Now you know your gender identity, and knowing is half the battle. Get G.I. Pack today!
From EXO Auto Works. Streaming all over the world.
We're coming for you, globalist!
It's your weekly dose of toxic masculinity. With Eric Madrid. And Trevor Lane. It's Man Tools.
Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of Man Tools. As you can see, we lied again at the beginning. Eric's not here, but he's still dealing with some stuff, as we talked about last week, with the death in the family that he's gone through. So, good thoughts, prayers, good vibes, all that stuff sent his way would be much appreciated. In the meantime, we have a great show. We've got a guest tonight, so it will be much less boring than just me talking to you. And with that, we're going to get into it, and we're going to bring our guest on because I don't see a reason to waste any time. So here he is from the KickbaQ Pod, Nic Hoffman. What's up, dude?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nice to be here.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yes, sir. Super excited. Definitely love the podcast. What y'all all got going on is super dope.
Thanks, man. Yeah, you in your little guest form you filled out, you said you've worked many manly jobs, filled the role
At minimum 3.
Okay, filled the man of the house role and have experienced fatherhood. So we're gonna get into all of that. So we'll start with the manly jobs. So what kind of manly jobs have you done?
I think the most manly job I've ever done is I used to cut trees. You have to climb up into trees, take the chainsaw with you, make sure you rope it up. I never did the roping part, thank God. And then you have to cut all the limbs down, and then you go a little bit of the tree at the time. I think that's probably the manliest job, either that or welding.
Those are both pretty manly. The tree job, were you like a tree surgeon, or was it more like clearing trees out, like logging?
Oh yeah, it's the South. People just will ask you if you want to cut down trees. Like I worked for a guy, he was like a member of my family at one point, and he would basically just have people who would ask him, "Hey, how much for this amount of trees?" I think I didn't get paid a lot. I got paid maybe $120 at the end of the day, which is decent. But when you're doing like 15 trees in a day, it's kind of not decent. Because you got to think, you got to get all the logs, you got to move them, you got to stack them for the people if they want them. If they don't want them, you also got to take them. But no, it was just a lot of dude had clientele. and we would just show up, and we would know which tree. He would tell me which trees we had to get down. So yeah, it wasn't like a tree surgeon or anything like that. It was just simply cut the tree down, get it out of here. Or if they wanted the logs, it depends. In the South, like people really like to keep the logs.
Yeah. I could see that. Like, it doesn't. I'm curious, how cold does it get down in Tennessee? Like,
Uh, I think this year the worst was like the tens, like 15, but
that's
it's been
that's
getting
still
worse every year. Uh, so it's not bad. And it only went for like that, like a day. I think there was like a few weeks of 20s. But like our weather shifts so much. Like
yeah.
2 days ago, it was scorching hot. Like I got like a sunburn for just being outside. And today I had to wear like 3 jackets.
Yeah, dude, Colorado's the same thing. This morning I had to shovel snow and then it was 60.
God, no.
I'm not even kidding. I had to shovel snow this morning to leave, and by mid-afternoon it was 60.
I I lived in it's in New York, upstate New York, Galloway Village is what it was called when I was in middle school for a year and a half. And you had to go to school with the snow all the way up to your knees. And I experienced a lot of that where like one day you look outside and you could barely walk, and the next day it was like just puddles.
Yeah. Yep. It's wild. All right, so welding, that's definitely a manly job. What kind of welding did you do? Was it like industrial or was it
It was car parts. So I
okay.
worked at a factory here in the city I live in right now, Lebanon, Tennessee, if anyone ever wants to know. And the main jobs for a long time here were like factory jobs or city jobs. So it was like a lot of factories, and it was either you're picking and packing at like Amazon, or you were doing like they had a few factories that just made car parts, and like helped weld car parts, etc. I only did the welding part for like a month, but I was there for like 8, 9 months. Just like you just push the button, press it. You have a whole press machine. It'll press down on. It'll press a what's the word? What's the word when like you're trying to draw on something and you put up the little paper and it has what you're trying to draw, and you just got to the stencil.
Oh,
You
like
gotta
a
I,
template or something?
yeah, so there
Yeah.
you go. So it'll push it down onto there. Yeah, make sure you watch your hands and stuff. Pick it up, it's super hot. You gotta move it over, etc. Back and forth. That was the main part of the job, but there was like a month or two where I was welding because I was trying to go up. And I mean, pretty much anybody knows what welding is. You take the fire to two different metals, put them not two different metals, but two different parts, and you got to put them together.
Yeah.
And that was, I'm sweating just thinking about it. I was hot every day. It could be 20 degrees. I was, man, nah, I can't go back. I can't go back.
Well, I'm always fascinated by manufacturing jobs because like America doesn't have a lot of that anymore. We've outsourced that shit
Yeah,
to other countries. Um, but it's like, you know, everything needs a factory, from this to this stuff to these,
yeah,
it's like, um,
100%.
it's pretty wild that, I don't know. It seems like a bad move to me to get rid of all that.
Do you think we'll ever have another like industrial revolution type of era in America where like
I
we
don't
go
know.
really hard into the workforce, like factory wise?
It's tough because here's the problem. We don't have slavery anymore. And places like China basically do. I mean,
Yeah.
so how are you going to compete with, here we have, you can argue that the minimum wage maybe isn't enough, but we have a minimum wage. And over there, they're like, no, the only thing we need is the money for the parts.
Yeah,
The
pretty
labor's
much.
free.
Pretty much. It's kind of crazy, but I mean, we're working with it, I guess. It hasn't been the greatest, but I think we're really close to another like what is like another 2008 stock market crash if it hasn't happened like already in
Yeah.
the background. Uh, so I don't know. Things look like they're gonna get worse here soon before they get better, but I could
That
be wrong.
that seems to be, and I just don't know how you like especially when it comes to producing things domestically. I don't know how you make that shift because it inevitably costs more for the people that are buying the things, whatever you're making. Um, so I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. You have to innovate and automate, I guess, and make it as cheap as you can with doing it here.
Do we count like is like Tesla an American company?
Yeah, yeah, they are. But you know what? I think they're an American company, but I think a decent portion of the parts that go into the cars are made in China, if
Oh,
I'm
well,
not
never mind.
mistaken.
I was like, maybe they're gonna start it off, but that makes
I'm
sense.
not I'm not positive, but I think even those guys, like, I think the cars get put together here. I mean, kind of like I think the same thing happens with like Chevy and Ford. The cars get put together here so they can go. It's an American car, but all the parts are made somewhere else. So
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. It also feels like I don't know. It could be just the South, but it feels like 90% of jobs are like manual labor jobs. So I don't see that being much different than like if we had like another like if we were just like, all right, let's take all the manual labor we're putting here into X that isn't really needed, and then we just
right.
put it into whatever we're trying to produce. I feel like it could happen easily. I don't see it happen.
Yeah, I don't know. It just somehow has to be profitable, I guess. And
That's all we care
once there's
about.
money
Yeah.
to be made somewhere, someone will figure it out.
Yeah.
Like that's seems to be the golden rule.
Yeah. I mean, look, I mean, I do too.
Yeah, hell yeah. Let's see. You also said that you filled the man of the house role, and you're a dad. So let's talk a little bit about that. How many kids do you have?
Three, two step
Three.
kids and one of my own, but all through the same mom.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, we all live together here in a little apartment. Looking to get out of here soon, thankfully. But yeah, that's why very first thing I noticed was your shirt. I was like, that's
Oh
awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man. So no, definitely. I mean, it is what it is. You know, sometimes there's give and go. I think the traditional role of man of the house, at least in my generation, I'm 24, is a lot different than it was in the 90s or the 80s or even the 2000s. Uh, but I think I think if anything, I've fulfilled that role or am attempting to the best of my
Yeah.
abilities, and I think that's a manly thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, they're it's interesting. I think some of these changes with gender roles, some have been positive, some have been negative. But I think overall the thing that to me that's kind of sad is whether it's the man or the woman going to work and being the provider. I think it's sad that we've been um, convinced that both parents need to go to work. Because it's almost the people that really benefit from that is like the weird corporate, like the companies that want you to just stay at work.
I think it also depends on jobs, right? I mean, it depends on how good one has a job. If both are working, like me and my lady, we're 24 and 26 respectively. So neither of us have a career that can stand on its own and make sure
Right.
everything is still taken care of. So we both do have to work. And I think there's a lot
Right.
of families like that where both have to just to even survive. But that being said, I agree with you. I think it should be only one has to, and one stays with the kids, especially if you have kids. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. It's a strange, like, it's almost like the feminist movement sold this idea that basically becoming like a slave to the corporate structure was empowering. And I don't know how they did that because it doesn't seem like it really is.
Well, I think so I don't want to speak for them, but I do think uh, when it comes to movements and like how it's changed everything, I think it's just the country itself. I guess is worldwide, but at least here in America, it feels like if enough people say something, no matter if it's right, wrong, or anything like that, enough people say something, there will be enough of a change. You know what I mean? Like there was that stupid Biden law that he just passed, where you get free needles for crackheads. It's like
Yeah.
is that needed? No, but I'm sure there was enough people complaining about it, so they gave it to him. And I think we have a lot of little things like that that slowly affect our culture.
Definitely. Definitely. In fact, there's a term for it. Have you ever heard of creeping incrementalism?
No, I've never heard of that.
That's where you just make small, tiny changes where people go, nobody goes, "Oh wow, that's fucked up," until you've done a bunch of them, and then you're like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah, I
And by
guess.
then it's too late. They've all happened.
Yeah, I no, I definitely get that. I think but I do think a lot of people that are like crying and saying like we're looking like the Roman Empire and we're gonna go down soon. I think a lot of those people are really stupid. Uh I mean, it might happen. Every country has never succeeded forever, but I also think that's like a fallacy because there's not been a forever. But I don't know. I don't think America's gonna end up that bad. I think we're just gonna have another 10, 20 years of trying to figure out the new social norms, and then we'll have that for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's hard telling. I think they're definitely. You can always draw parallels between past civilizations and civilizations today, because even obviously technology has changed drastically, but I think people still behave the same, and groups of people still behave the same. So I think there are things where you can go, "Well, this isn't a good sign." At least you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like a for sure nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but there's also the same like, I don't ever like to look too far into that stuff because then I feel like if I look too hard, I'm gonna end up like the people who were like 2012, the Aztecs said we're all gonna die. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I
Yeah.
feel like everyone who looks too hard into that, it kind of takes away from just trying to build the now and like trying to enjoy the now. I know a lot of people say that. It sounds really corny, and it really is. But I think yeah, I spent a lot of like my 18 to like 23, 22, trying to figure out how I'm supposed to make the world a better place and looking at the past and all this kind of stuff. And it just felt futile at best.
Well, you bring up something interesting. Have you ever heard of an author named Jack Donovan?
I have not.
No. He writes a lot about masculinity and like social issues. Um, but he has a book called, I think it's called Becoming the Barbarian or Becoming a Barbarian. And he talks a lot about what you just touched on, where you're the encouragement to like care about the world. And he's like, that's not possible. You can't care about everybody
Yeah.
in a meaningful way. In fact, he cites like a psychological study that says you can basically, in a way that actually matters, even just psychologically to you, you can only care about like 100 people,
I,
and any more than that, you can't.
yeah,
So,
I hear that.
which uh, the point he makes is that by trying to care about everybody, you actually end up caring about nobody, and you become just the most selfish person because you just care about I care about everybody. Well, that boils down to you not actually caring about anybody.
I think I think that kind of like sentiment can be seen like just through the years. Like I don't know, when I started doing I could like timeline, right? I started doing music in like 2017 and I had like 15, 20 different people around me that were like all for it, all in, right? And then throughout the years, like today, I think there's maybe three. You know what I mean? And I think it's just and like those people, like when your priorities don't align, you start to distance yourself from them, and then the care and the love goes away slowly over time. And I think that's a lot to do, especially as my age now. I feel like there's just only so much time and I can't put all my time into a person enough to make them like cared for the way I'd want to care for someone. So like the people I do care about has to be specific and it has to be like worth. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. And I think that's exactly what Jack was getting at was this. What you end up with the kind of hippy dippy. I care about the whole world as well. No, you're just selfish then because you can't actually care about the whole world.
Yeah, I don't think there's like ever that would be I feel like that's the mindset of like I want a utopia and it's like just not possible.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Do you think those kind of people realize they're wasting their time later on in life? Because I did. Like years later, I was like, yeah, I just wasted a lot of my time with that mindset. Not that
I
specific one, but just with other ones.
I think a lot of people do. I think one way it's been put, Winston Churchill said, and he put it into terms of politics, but I think the sentiment is kind of the same. He was like, if you're not liberal when you're young, you have no heart. And then he said, if you're not conservative when you're old, you don't have a head or a brain. Because it's like the liberal thing is mostly emotional driven. You know, if you look at the politics, it's we want to help everybody and whatever. And then later on, I think you grow into, well, I got to take care of like my shit,
Yeah.
which is the more conservative, you know,
Yeah.
like, no, this is what actually matters is, you know, like my family and you know, my house or whatever.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because oftentimes I'll find myself throughout like at least the past year thinking to myself, like, am I just getting old? You know what I mean? Like I'm only 24, but am I just getting old? Like I don't agree with most of the new stuff. I don't like any of it. And I'm just like, am I just an old soul or something? What's going on? And like I think it's really just like the passing of the times. I think my mom probably had the same thought about stuff I was doing when I was 16, 17. My mom had me at 15, so we don't even have a huge age gap. I'm sure she thought the same stuff about that and etc. So like I've been putting it up to that, but man, I really start to feel like I'm just getting old in my head. Like a lot of this stuff doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, if you
The
think you're
TikTok,
old,
I don't like that, but
oh yeah,
I'll
TikTok, you
leave
said?
me. Yeah, I just think it's killing our attention span.
It's weird. It's definitely weird. Like, so we have a TikTok page, but I won't put the app on my phone because I don't want it spying on me. And even even I'm even leery of like opening it up in a browser, even though I use like what's the browser I use? Brave, which is supposed to be like the most secure. They can't get any of your data. But I'm like, I just post our video and bounce. You know what I mean? Well, like once a week I do a highlight and that's it.
Yeah.
And, you know, while I'm there posting the video, I'll kind of look at the views and that's about it. But we don't, you know, I don't go doing
Yeah.
a bunch on there because it is odd.
I don't know. It feels like Vine from back in the day.
Yeah.
And Vine also felt even as a kid, I thought Vine was stupid. So now that it's like just a shorter version, I'm like, I'm the guy who likes to listen to like true crime 50 minutes at a time, or like watch an entire series in a row, or like listen to podcasts all night.
Right.
And when I listen to music, I listen to entire albums. You know what I mean? I don't just listen to one song. So like my attention span when it comes to like the short stuff is just like I feel like I'm wasting every second. I'm like I
Right.
could just
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
hearing like an epic right now.
Yeah. You know, and it's weird. Like, I don't know if you paid attention to the news with the push to like ban TikTok.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
but then the bill that they came out with doesn't like it really just bans whatever they don't like. And
Yeah, I mean that's
it's like,
America.
wait,
That's
what?
kind of how we work. You know what I mean? If we don't like it, we're gonna find a way to legally get
Yeah.
rid of it.
And what's really weird with TikTok though is it's you know, everybody knows it's a Chinese company. But I mean, the Chinese are playing like 3D chess here, man, because
I
if you look at what goes up on TikTok and gets into like kids feeds on TikTok in China, it's vastly different than the stuff here. In China, it's stuff that's like, hey, learn about math. And here, not to be stereotypical, or you know, learn
just a
about
little bit.
something constructive, I guess is the way I
Yeah.
should put it. And here it's like, uh, hey, try to eat a gallon of cinnamon, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I hear you, but I also like I don't prescribe to like I did for a while. I prescribed to they're trying to spy on me if I get TikTok. I wouldn't do it. I still don't have it, but I was like I wouldn't even touch it, wouldn't get near it. They want to come after me. And then I just like I don't know. I don't prescribe anymore. It's like they're trying to spy. And I think it's just like them trying to create almost like an AI way of creating an algorithm for multiple apps besides TikTok at the same time, which is still like not what I want it to do, which is
Right.
why I don't have it. But
Well,
uh,
I just don't understand. Like, okay, I I I do think TikTok spies on you, but so does Facebook, so does Twitter. I mean, name a social media, and they're doing the same thing. They're trying to farm your
all
data
the
no matter
same
what.
permissions in your phone. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, I guess the concern with TikTok is that because it's a Chinese company, and there's no such thing as a Chinese company that doesn't have the government getting into it over there.
That's fair.
That means that, you know, the Chinese government could be using that data. I still think the biggest spying operation that the Chinese government ever did was Pokemon Go.
Yeah,
I
that was
mean,
classic.
because they convinced millions of people to go outside and take pictures of stuff. So, I mean, who knows what kind of images they captured
Yeah.
with that? Oh, I captured a, Megazord or whatever the fuck the Pokemon is. But what you really did was take a picture of something, use the camera.
I
So,
went around doing Pokemon Go, and I seen people fighting over Pokemon. I swear to God, they both could have caught it on their phones, and they were fighting over it. I, but I hear you though. I think Pokemon Go is one thing. What about the balloons? Right? Do we believe that those are Chinese balloons, or are we just going hoax there? What's your
I
take on
don't
that?
know. I don't know. There were two, right? Were there
I
two?
do believe so. They're like closer to Canada.
I think the first one was legit. I think that was really Chinese. I think the second one was a publicity. Oh, look, we shot this one down right away. And it was like, well, why did you wait so long on the other one?
Yeah, and if it's from China, it wouldn't be right away, right? It would have to come all the way over here, right? Or do you think
It
they would? Do
depends.
you think they would have put it off in America or in Canada?
I don't know. I
But
don't
what's the
know.
point of a balloon? I feel like a lot of it is just like awkward. Like, what would they do with a hot air balloon in America? What is that going
That
to
I
get
don't know
you?
either. Unless it's just to make Biden look like a bitch for not shooting it down.
Yeah, I
Like this
mean,
thing flew all the way across your country and you didn't do anything about it.
he probably thought it was just another day. That dude's so old. He was like, "Look, they must be flying the Goodyear blimp again." Like,
Yeah. I don't know. It's that was very weird. And in the age of satellites to do like a balloon
yeah,
is
that's
strange.
awkward.
Like, I mean, and they have satellites. They can move satellites over and spy on us, I'm sure. I have no doubt. But
Yeah. I
to
want
to
do you think that governments know where other governments' satellites not obviously know where they are, but do you think they know where they're, like, looking at, what they're looking in on?
I think they have a really good idea.
Okay.
I mean, they may not know specifically, but there is like an international agreement because you don't want satellites crashing into each other. So they have to know where each other's shit is, even if they don't want to, just because of like, okay, well then your shit's gonna get crashed into. you
Yeah.
know?
Well, okay, and that alright, let me ask this question. Do you think that you're allowed to fly, like, an American, satellite over Russia, like, out in orbit? Or do you think that's too far out for them to, like, put a like, a restriction over?
Well, so I have background in this. I actually worked in satellite communications.
Okay.
Um, so America has the luxury of being positioned where we can use what they call geosynchronous satellites. So those are satellites. If it's the Earth, the satellite, they basically launch it so it stays right over the equator. Um, Now the Russians, because of where they're geographically located, they end up using what are called polar satellites because they're so far north, and those actually pass over. And once it's gone, it can't see anything anymore, right?
Mhm.
Um, so they have to have a to do the job of like one, they need like three or four compared to
Okay.
what we have. But if you have like if you're sitting in a spot where you can see the equator, you can do a geosynchronous orbit. If
Oh,
that makes sense.
the whole world?
Well, no, you won't see the whole world, but like let's say your satellite's here, it'll see this whole piece of the world.
Oh,
You know.
so you can see pretty much an entire hemisphere.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's always been weird to me. I don't know. Satellites feel like one of those things where it's like that's crazy cool technology, and they could probably do something even wilder with it. But also at the same time, like as like a normal person, I have no idea what satellites do. So I'm just like, oh, cool, thing in the
Well,
air.
and then like the satellites I worked with, I got out of the military in 2003, and that was really the last time I worked straight satellite stuff. I still deal with it a little bit in my current job, but um, my current job is more just telecommunications in general.
Okay.
But when I was working pure satellite communications, I know that like the technology has changed drastically because back in my day, sound like the old man. Back in my day, um, it was like um, it was all you had to like configure everything manually. It was all I got a knob and I'm going to turn it to the frequency I want to use, that kind of thing, like tuning your car radio back in the 80s or something.
Gotcha.
And then now it's all digital. It's all bleep blop bloop. This is what I want it to do, and it does it. And
Yeah.
you can
Like a
probably
RC
program the
car.
damn thing with your phone.
Yeah. I don't know. NASA is one of those jobs where I was like, damn, I want to be I feel like every kid wants to be an astronaut growing up.
Oh
Did
yeah,
you ever have that growing up? You wanted to be an
definitely,
astronaut?
definitely.
I feel like that's one
I
of the normal things. That and like a doctor, because your parents will beat it into you.
well, I was just talking to my wife about this. I had one of the. I don't know anybody else that had this fantasy, but for some reason I was fascinated by the garbage man when I was little.
I know a few people who had the same thing.
When I was like, I don't know, 4 or 5, somewhere in there, dude, I knew the guy's name. His name
Were
was
you sitting
Homer.
outside every day?
Oh yeah, I would go outside on trash day. If it was trash day, I was so fucking excited because I got to see my buddy. And then after he was gone, I would pretend that I was him. We had these bunk beds, right? Because I have 2 brothers, so I would pretend that the bunk beds was the truck, and I would take my dirty laundry from the hamper, and I would pretend that was a trash can, and I would dump the laundry into the hamper or into the bed, like it was the back of the truck, and I'd be like,
No, my biggest thing growing up is I was gonna be as like a young kid, I was convinced I was gonna be like Michael Jordan. And then as I got older, I was like, I'm the next Derrick Rose. And then at the end of in high school, I wanted to be like a narcotics detective. And I went to college for that, for criminal justice. But I had like a issue with we had this thing called Tennessee Promise here in Tennessee. So you get 2 years free at any community or city college that accepted it.
okay.
And the one in my city did, but apparently my mom did the paperwork late, and they didn't tell me till I was already in school. So I ended up getting pulled, and I was like, I'm not paying I don't have $8,000 a semester. My parents don't. So I was like, I guess we're gonna give up on that.
Damn.
And now I'm here. Now I'm a rapper and a podcaster. How the mighty have fallen, am I right? No, I'm playing. It would have been a cool job. I think about it every single time I watch a James Bond movie. I'm like, that could have been me. That's what I think every time.
Well, you think that, but then, they'd have you like, I don't know, busting. I don't know about the weed situation out there, but busting kids for weed or something dumb.
Yeah. No,
where you're
that's
come
part of
on.
why I gave it up. I got busted for weed at 18.
Yeah.
And this was after college, like a few weeks later. It was just like a domino effect. And it was like half a gram. And they were still like, we're going to get you on paraphernalia. And I was like, oh shit. And then just on my record, I was like,
Yeah.
all right. But I mean, yeah, that would have sucked. But I was fine with it as like a high schooler because I was like, it's the South and it's very anti-weed. So at least for a long time, it's kind of getting better now. But it was like, no, don't do that. So I was like, forget it. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna be the cool cop. Everyone wants to be the cool cop. I was like, I'm gonna be the cool cop. If it's some marijuana, I'll let him go. And that was my mindset, man. I'm for real. I was dead ass serious. Like you can ask any of my friends. I was ready. I was telling my parents. And it's so weird looking back because like 6 years later, and life is completely like not even close. Like my mindset is not even close to wanting to be a narcotics detective.
Well, see now, if you had gone that route and you were the guy that was letting people go, now you'd have a body cam and they'd be like, "Hey, dude, we got you on tape letting this kid go," and you'd be like, "Fuck."
Yeah, I ended like that. Or like I don't know if you heard about it. There was that lady, the cop lady in Nashville, that was having encounters with her coworkers.
She was getting trains run on her.
Oh, I didn't know what words we were allowed to say.
Yeah. Oh no,
she
go
was,
for it. Yeah.
Yeah. She was just getting railed, man.
Yeah.
And then the strip club offered her 10,000 here in Nashville.
That's what I had heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
She and the other crazy part was like the husband was just such a cuck, dude.
Yeah.
You looked at him and it was all black dudes that like
there's
you
a
just
few white dudes.
Well, okay, but
one or two.
There were at least a couple where it's like, I don't mean to sound racist, but if you're a white guy and you find out that your chick is into black dick, you're just like, how do I compete with that?
Yeah, I'm screwed. Yeah. Every single time my girl goes to talk to a black guy, I'm like, don't go. No, I'm just playing. I don't ever do that. But no, I do. It is one of those things. And then they stayed together I was like, no, like,
Well,
dude,
supposedly
you would
they
have
had
been
an
such a
open
hero if you had
relationship.
left her. You said what?
Supposedly they had an open relationship, so it was
Yeah.
fine for her to fuck whoever she wanted.
Well, there's also the story that the one cop gave where apparently they were supposed to have like a wife swap situation, and then dude just ended up leaving his wife there because other dude's wife wasn't either attractive enough or a dude like bitched out. I don't know what happened, but I
I
mean,
don't
if
know,
there's an
man.
open relationship and you don't even want to see your girl have sex, it feels like that's not an open, like she wants that and you're just doing it
Right? Yeah,
because you
yeah.
feel you have
Well, and
to.
then I've heard of where it's only open on the one side.
Mhm.
It's it's
Well,
open
that
for
happens
her. It's
more with
not open
rich
for
people,
you.
right? That happens more with rich people, right? Where you have the really rich dude, and then he has the wife, and he has his girlfriends. I
Oh,
feel like
I was thinking more like Will Smith, where she has the
oh,
boyfriends.
oh, look, I ain't trying to get slapped,
And
man.
I don't,
Did you
I
see the
at
Chris
least,
Rock thing?
yeah, yeah, dude. Like
That was great. It wasn't even funny. It was just like so realistic that you're like, yeah, that's awesome.
well, what was awesome with that was he laughed at it first, and
Yeah.
then it was when she got upset, he was like, "All right, I guess I had to go slap this dude."
Even she laughed first. Even she laughed first. She laughed and then looked at Will, and I was like, "Wait, that makes no sense." I didn't
Yeah,
even watch it live. I was one of the few people. I don't watch that stuff. I'm really tapped into music, but I won't watch the Grammys if that
the
makes sense.
Grammys suck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I won't watch like any of the award shows anymore. Ever since like I was like 19, but I do check out the highlights if something crazy like a Will Smith
yeah,
thing happens, and yeah, I remember watching on YouTube, seeing the title and thinking I'm about to get clickbaited, and it was everything it promised and more. So,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
the yelling after was the best. You keep my wife's name out your goddamn mouth. And I was like, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I live
And
for it though.
I wish Chris was just like a little quicker because he could have been like something like, "Well, your wife needs to keep your son's friends, Dick."
What if he would have
I don't
dodged the
know.
slap? What do you think would have happened?
If he had dodged it, I
Yeah,
don't know because like I guess it was a big part of his last comedy special was
yeah,
talking about it. So, um, he obviously made something constructive with it, but I just I don't understand how they let him stay in the building and continue to hang
yeah.
out. It's like, are you
Well, you're
serious?
Will Smith. That's the dude from Bad Boys. So you don't want to just kick
Well,
him out.
I know, but I mean, if you're gonna, I understand that there really isn't equality when it comes to something like that. But
Yep.
if you're gonna act like you think that there is, which these award shows act like, they
Yep.
try to promote that kind of thing. Shouldn't it be anybody that slaps a motherfucker here gets kicked out?
Yeah, it should be. It should be. But they probably felt like a little like they're like, we can't kick out the black guy. Like we got to keep him. We'll kick out a white guy
I don't
first,
know, but
and then it'll be
it
socially
was black
acceptable.
on black. Is that
Yeah, I mean, look, Grammys are notoriously very racist. Uh, they are. They're
Yeah.
notoriously racist. It's a real thing. They call black music urban. That's fucked up. But I'll leave it at that, right? So I think when they saw a black dude smack a black dude, they were probably like a small percentage of me was like, they probably got off to that. They're like, yes, this is great for TV. Leave him here. It might happen again. So I kind of see why they left him. They probably shouldn't. They definitely shouldn't have. But Rock took it like a champ, though. I've
Oh
never
yeah.
seen anyone get
Yeah.
slapped and then just continue hosting.
Yeah.
That was great. I don't know. Could have been a lot cooler. If it was like the George Bush shoe dodging situation, it would have been so badass.
Right. That would have been cool. All right, man. Let's do a couple of news stories.
Let's do it.
And then we always end our show with the week in history. So we'll do some news stories in the week in history, and we'll take off.
Let's do it.
So let's see. There it is. All right. News this evening, as always, is brought to you by Valley Food Storage. as you're about to see, anything can happen. So you need to be prepared. And a good way to be prepared is to have some emergency food. This shit lasts for 25 years. So go get some at prepare.mantoolsmedia.com. All right. I wanted to start with a feel-good story, and it doesn't get much more feel-good than this. This happened in New Jersey, where a 4-year-old boy, ran off into the woods, which is crazy. But luckily, he took his dog with him. So, I guess he was only gone for a few hours, but with a 4-year-old, that's terrifying to a parent. Yeah,
That's like a year and a half.
Yep, you're right. But his doggo, who is the best boy, I'm assuming it's a boy. Maybe it's not a boy. Let's see. We'll just kind of read a little bit of this. A frightened 4-year-old boy was found in the woods after leaving home with his black lab retriever in New Jersey. The child was reported missing, disappeared for more than an hour the evening of March 30th in Buena Vista Township, according to New Jersey State Police. During the search for the boy, his mother and state trooper. So his mom is a state trooper. That's pretty wild. Ian Emmy heard him and followed his cries nearly half a mile away. Half a mile is a long way to walk for a 4-year-old.
Yeah. That's a lot of steps.
Jeez Louise. The moment that state troopers spot the child and race over to rescue him can be seen body cam footage. His lab with a wagging tail jumps up when the boy is picked up in an apparent excitement. So, good dog, good boy.
Wait, his dog let him back? Is that what that's saying?
No, I think the dog just hung out with him and made sure he was okay until they found him. So,
got you.
Which luckily was
I wish I had a dog.
only a couple hours later.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd do if my 3-year-old went missing for more than 5 minutes. So to think about an hour and a half or a few hours, I'd lose it. I don't know how any of these parents ever keep it together to even form a search party in that amount of time.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Way stronger willed people than I am. But man, just to have the dog just hanging out, you'd think the dog would know the way back, right? Aren't dogs good at that, or is that cats?
Dogs can be good at that. Dogs can be very good at that. It probably depends on whether the kid would follow him. Maybe the dog tried and the kid was just I don't know. You know how kids get, if they're scared, he might just sit down and start crying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was expecting a twist at the end of and the dog let him back. And it would have been. And sorry about that. And I don't know. I didn't know what I was expecting, but I'm happy they found the little kid. New Jersey, Buena Vista. Is that a city? It sounds so familiar.
Yeah, Buena Vista Township is what it's called in New Jersey.
And I know New Jersey is all woods with the exception of some cities. So I couldn't imagine just getting lost in the woods, especially here in the South as a kid. I don't know if you'd ever find your way back. No. I wouldn't even let my kids near a woods. That's wild. No.
I don't know. We had they weren't woods, but it was like a field that was kind of close to our house. And I know we just ran around through there all the time. Maybe that's the difference. It was just grass.
I think it's the difference. I think the biggest difference is that's what I did the same thing, right? That's what I did. And my, life is a little different now. Now there's all this technology, all kinds of crazy things are happening in the world. And I as a parent am not comfortable with sending my kid, no matter the age, to just be hey, the oldest is 6. I can't be I'm not going to be hey, 6-year-old, yeah, just go run outside, have fun, when I know there's school shooting threats just around the corner, and I keep my neighbors flashing guns every other day. Nah, I think it's just a difference in obviously area, but also just the passing of time. Would you let your kids just go out like that? You probably got older kids though, so that also.
I mean, my oldest is 15, the youngest is 11, so they do kind of do that now. But when they were little, I can remember letting them, like, I do remember letting them go. We have a park that's fairly close to our house, and I'd let them walk down there by themselves and come back. But yeah, it's not quite like I remember just being loose,
Yep,
and
I
until
do
the
too.
streetlights came on, you were fine,
I
and then
used
you
to ride
better
my
get your
bike
ass
like
home.
an hour across the city every day just to go hang out
Yeah,
with friends in the projects. My mom had no idea, but I uh I think it's the difference though. I'm a boy. I only have girls.
I think that's
Uh,
different too. Yep.
and then I think it's also about how mature the child is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My youngest sister was so mature. Is still so mature for her age. I think she's like 21 now.
Also,
Uh,
I think it's different, like, because I have two kids. I think that's different. Like, I wouldn't let if it was just when I'll put it this way: before my wife and I got together, because one of my daughters is my stepdaughter. When it was just my daughter, I would not let her just run off. But when there's two of them, it's kind of like, well, one of them can go get help, or you know what I mean. That's a little
mhm.
different than just like, hey, go.
Yeah, I was also all the time leaving with like 3 or 4 friends, 2 to 3
Yeah.
friends at minimum. So that was probably like my mom's like also like other part of it. You know, like Nick's leaving with the friends he's been hanging out with for 6 years, and they do this every day. Nothing bad has ever happened. And
Right.
he's a boy. You know what I mean? The chances of getting picked up by a stranger drop more. But nah, there's a lot of difference with stuff. I guess it was like how old was the kid? 4? I don't know. Still
That
too
kid was
young for me.
4. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I wouldn't let
still
a
too young.
4-year-old just run off.
Yeah, still too young. We can't even go to the zoo without me having to keep eyes on all 3 of them. Like,
Yeah.
no, no, I couldn't. I don't know. Maybe kid just ran out though. Sometimes that happens. You know, I've had my
They
daughter just walk out the apartment building like she owns the place
yeah.
and she's 3 years old and I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like there's stairs. But no, yeah, that's wild. But I'm glad he got the help. I'm glad they finally found him because
Yeah.
that could have been a whole different way.
And good dog, like sticking with him and hanging out and making sure he was all right, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Have you heard about this case where this dude made a meme back in 2016 about being able to text in your vote for Hillary?
I remember the meme.
You remember the meme?
I
Well,
remember the
he
meme.
has been convicted now of election interference.
Are you for that meme?
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Oh, here. Let's see if it's the same one. Is this the one you're thinking of?
I couldn't remember. I just remember there being like a whole bunch of text in for Hillary vote thing.
Yeah.
And that looks on par for what it probably
So
looked like.
so
Yeah.
this dude who on Twitter went by Ricky Vaughn, or at the Ricky Vaughn, posted this meme back in 2016. He was later charged in, I'm trying to remember if it's federal court, but the claim is that like 5,000 people. So this is the facts of the case as I understand it is that 5,000 people did text the number that was put up there. The problem is that there's not really a lot of evidence that any, let alone many of them, thought that they were actually able to vote by text.
Yeah. It's also the thing of 5,000, even in just a state, doesn't sway a vote.
Right. Yeah.
At least most of the time, unless it's
wouldn't
a
really
very
change
divided
results.
place. And most of these people are probably from different parts of the country. Like it doesn't change anything about that election. I don't think at all, to be honest. But
I
it's
wouldn't think so
crazy.
either.
On
But
trial for a meme?
here's something wild. So here's a little taste of double standard. This meme is still up on Twitter, and this person has not been under any scrutiny
Ah,
or charges. Where she put, "Hey, Trump supporters, skip the lines, text your vote," and then said, "or vote on Wednesday," which of course would be the day after Election Day, because Election Day is always on a Tuesday.
yeah. So clearly a troll.
So but they're basically the same thing. Hey, do this thing that doesn't
Yeah.
count.
I'm not pro Hillary or Trump, but I will
No,
say
I get you.
here's a legal thing that I don't know if they're going to use. If you the original one, dude didn't put a caption. He just posted it, right?
Um, His caption is "I'm with her and go Hillary," I guess.
Okay. So he's not posting anything that says do this or this is legit or anything like that. So he's just reposting a meme, which could be played off as like a joke. And hers is very direct. Go
Right.
do
Yeah.
this and it'll actually work. So if I think any of them should be charged, it should be her and not him.
Yeah. She actually spells out, "Hey, go vote on the day after election day."
Yeah, and I also it gives it a name, Super Wednesday.
Yeah.
Man, at what point is posting a meme, whether it's real or not, like not illegal? You know what I mean? Like, at what point is it just freedom of speech?
I just don't get like, and I can't even think of how this could be, but typically, unless your speech like incites someone to hurt another person, it usually falls completely under First Amendment stuff, right?
Unless it's like a traitorous statement, they can still legally get you on that.
Yeah. But so it's like, I don't see how a meme could fit into any of that though.
It feels like one of those like pandering moves. Like Trump did a lot of them between during this whole Biden thing, right? Biden was a bad move. I agree with everyone, but Trump's been doing this whole thing of like he'll have multiple things to get his name back up there,
Sure.
doing multiple things to like try and convince the world that hey, he really won, etc. And it kind of just feels like a move like that less than anything. You know what I mean? Doesn't even feel like a go and actually do it. It just kind of feels like here's another excuse or here's another reason, etc. And this kind of feels like we're gonna put this guy on trial and put the blame here so we have a scapegoat for Hillary losing, but like twice. Come on.
Yeah. I don't know.
She would have been the worst presidential candidate. She is probably the worst presidential candidate in my lifetime, with the exception of, probably the worst is Hillary Clinton. I'll give it there.
Well, yeah, like she's just unlikable.
Yeah, and like this is a guy who like during 2016 was graduating high school. Very liberal, and I still was like, nah, we're not voting. This might be my first time to vote, but neither of these people can I rock with, and especially not Hillary. And Trump's presidency campaign didn't end too bad. Not campaign, but his presidential run didn't end bad at all. So I don't know. I think he says a lot of stupid stuff, but it didn't end bad. He did fine. You know what I mean? Did good.
He didn't. He was okay. I've seen better. I've seen worse. I'm a little older than you, so I have fond memories of old Ronald Reagan. that was the first president I remember seeing on TV was Ronald Reagan, and just I don't know, something about his voice is just soothing. It's like your dad telling you everything's gonna be okay.
Wait, what did he do? Was he the chick with the prostitute? Was he the dude with the prostitute?
No,
Marilyn Monroe or something?
No, that was Kennedy. That would be
all this is pre me, man.
Parents'
I came around like Bush Jr. You know what I mean? Like that was. I remember growing up. My very first political thing I ever heard was Kanye West saying that George Bush hates black people. That was my first thing I ever heard politically. Yeah.
We need help from Katrina, and it's because George Bush hates black people. And was it Mike Myers standing there like, wait, this is not part of the script?
It was either him or it was like a talk show host. But yeah, they were just so confused. Like, what the? I love it though. I think it's hilarious. I think we need more of that. You know what I mean? We've got more of it. The whole Trump campaign had people going crazy. It's always fun for me. I could be wrong.
Right. Well, let's take a look at the week in his story, and we will wrap things up.
Sounds good.
Come to his end in the gutter, spinning right at the feet.
In first and the flash, get it started. Hit fight and it's right.
But before we get into the week in history, I need to tell you about the best investment you can do, and that's gold. Gold has held its value throughout all of human history, and it's the only thing that's never gone down to zero. It's gone up and down, but it's never got to zero. So protect your investments, protect your wealth by putting at least a little bit of that into some gold. You can even do a gold IRA, which I have one of those. It's great. After watching a 401k tank, I rolled it into a gold-backed IRA, and I have not regretted that at all. And I did it with Noble Gold Investments. So go to gold.mantoolsmedia.com and get a free guide on doing a gold IRA and protect your wealth. All right.
Heck yeah.
The week in his history. Sorry, I got to skip ahead a little bit.
All good.
Where
Here
are we
for
at?
the ride.
Do. There we are. So this week in his story, we start with April 6th, 1909. Americans Robert Peary and Matthew Henson become the first men to reach the North Pole, which is crazy.
Yeah. They did
I can't even.
is when we finally got to the North Pole.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't even imagine having the guts to go, I'm going to be the first one to go somewhere like that.
Yeah, I imagine it's like a lot of like the Christopher Columbus type of people who are just like, we have to go and figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
let's go do it.
Yep.
I feel like everyone's had that era in their life. They're like, we got to go look at stuff that nobody's looking at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back in that time, there wasn't technology, so the best thing to do was go and look at stuff. So,
Yep.
How much longer after this did we go to the moon? Is my number one question. I feel like I could look it up right now.
It was like 60 years. It was by the end of the 60s.
Within 60 years, we went from the North Pole to the moon. That's crazy. Yeah. That's wild. The time flies, man. Time flies.
Yep. That is wild. Yeah. Let's see. April 8th, 1952. President Truman orders the seizure of U.S. steel mills to prevent a strike. And things like this earned him this political cartoon where he's, acted like more like a king than like a president. I was like, wait, can you do that? And he was like, I just did.
I'm going to show my age here. What president was that?
Truman. Truman was right after World War II.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like the time that people would start flexing powers. We just won a war, and now we're like, let's see how far we can go with it. So I mean, sounds like the time era.
Yeah. Let's see. April 9th, 1770, Captain James Cook discovers Botany Bay on the Australian continent. I'm not sure if you'll get this picture.
Is that the Goonies?
No, this is from Star Trek.
Oh,
it's Khan, and his ship was called the Botany Bay, that's the joke.
Got you. I gotta watch Star Trek still. I've been meaning to for years now. I've been meaning to watch Star Trek. So we found the North Pole before we found a bay in Australia.
No, the bay in Australia was 1770 1770.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, it's just later in the week, so it was April 9th as opposed to April 6th.
Got you. Okay.
Let's see, April 10th, 1866. This is cool. The I didn't realize it went back this far, but the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals was formed.
In the 1800s?
1866, right after the Civil War.
We had this before we had civil rights. That's wild to me.
Yes, they had just ended slavery, and then they went, you know what? Animals need rights too.
I like to think about it in their mindset. They're like, well, we got to give some people rights. We might as well give everyone rights. They just start throwing them around. It doesn't make any sense. But I rock with it. I jive with it.
Let's see. And then April 11th, 1951, Truman again. President Truman fired General Douglas MacArthur as head of the forces in Korea during the Korean War. And then shortly after that, we kind of gave up.
Yeah, it's one of the two wars that we just gave up.
It went, the line went back to where it was, and we were like, it's fine.
It's crazy. They don't even teach you about the Korean War in school. I didn't learn about that until I was like 18.
No, you don't learn a lot about it. And then finally, April 12th, 1961, the Soviet Union becomes the first people to put a person into orbit with Yuri, I'm not going to say the middle name, Gagarin, who becomes the first man to orbit the Earth, beating us, at least in that aspect of the space race. And then, we
were losing in everything until the moon landing.
Yeah.
Which is still like wild to me. We lost everything, and they were like, we're on the moon though. we got a flag there. Like,
that's true.
Man, the first man. Do you know what it would be like to be the first man in space, or even just that monkey that they sent up before the first man?
Dude. And then, you only hear about the good ones. You don't hear about the ones that they just lost.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't even know how many dogs and monkeys are just floating around up there, and they can't rot because there's no oxygen.
So they just get cold.
Perfect. Just like,
yeah. I don't like to imagine, but I do imagine that if you freeze in space, when you eventually hit something, you just become dust, right? Isn't that how that works?
I think so.
Unless you go into an atmosphere and then you burn up. But
right.
I couldn't imagine. That's why I was saying earlier about wanting to be an astronaut until I was like older and reality hit me, and I was like, I couldn't go into space. So to be the first person, it's like I'm gonna be the first person in space and not care about the potential threat is wild. That's a lot of balls.
I remember saying something about wanting to be an astronaut, and I don't even remember who I was with, but whoever it was knew me well enough to know that I get car sick. And they're like, dude, you can't even ride in a car. And I'm like, yep.
I'm the same way. I have to be up front or I start to puke. And even then, I'm the same way. I have to take special pills when I go on airplanes just to keep puking. Yep. Yeah.
Dramamine.
Bad. Yep. Exactly what it is. Yep. I have the same thing. And that probably would mess me up. I also get sick on roller coasters. So
yeah, I don't do roller coasters. I can't do them.
I actually remember what it was that made me not want to be an astronaut, even as a kid, was I saw on video. I was like into watching weird videos on YouTube, and I saw the explosion that happened in Texas with the rocket going up, and it killed like a school teacher and stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
It was like a video. I was like, whoa, that was just a random school teacher. Let's not do that.
This is how old I am. I remember being in like first or second grade, and because a school teacher was going up, we were watching it live.
Oh. Yikes.
Yeah. A room full of like 7-year-olds, and then skadoosh, and we're like, is that what's supposed to happen? And the teachers are like, whoa.
It's like when they showed 9/11 happening in school for me. I was like, what was I? I was born in 98. So like this must have been pre-K, but I remember specifically seeing it on a TV at school. And I was like, what is going on? You're a kid. You're just confused.
It was a big deal. Like, they rolled in these TVs. They brought us all into the gym and rolled in like 2 TVs. And this was back when like the biggest TV was like a 27-inch tube TV,
You had those giant things on the back that were bigger than the screen itself.
Yeah. Yep. And it was on a big cart, but it was a big deal because it was like, a teacher's going up. So
yeah, like let's go.
We watched it live. And then it exploded, and we're like, what the fuck? The principal came up, and he's like, everybody go back to your classes. Your teachers are going to explain what's happening as we understand the news and blah, blah, blah. And we're like, is everybody dead?
What a thing to put on a teacher. Hey, by the way, you have to tell your whole class about the death they just watched. Like,
it was wild.
Man, those are the times, man. I think it's going to be, I'm not even going to jinx it. I'm just going to leave that sentence alone. It could be a while before we see anything like that, and I hope so.
All right, man. That brings us to, unfortunately, end of our show. Hang on. I want to make that tiny. All right, I can't get that right, but
It's all good. It's all good.
at least not the way I want it.
Well, thank you so much for having me on here. It's been an awesome time. Time flew by fast. I'll say that. Doesn't even feel like an hour.
Well, tell everybody where they can find your music, your podcast, all that stuff.
You can find the KickbaQ Podcast on the KickbaQ Twitch. That's TheKickbaQ on Twitch. We do that live every Friday night at 11 Central Time. And then all my music can be found on any streaming services, Facebook Music, like Snapchat Music. Just look up Nicci, Nicci, space Hendriix, Hendriix. And that's where you can find all my stuff.
Great. Well, thanks for hanging out.
Sir.
Locals members, our President's Day special, Abraham Lincoln, the worst president ever, ? Is out now. We know that we owe you because we didn't get a locals video last month, but we're planning on doing 2 this month. As we talked about at the beginning of the show, Eric's had some shit going on, so we gotta, and those aren't any fun for me to do by myself, and not worth it for you guys to spend your money. However, if you join locals at mantoolsminions.locals.com, it's just $3 a month, and you do get at least one members only video each month. Thanks to our sponsors. You can find them all at sponsors.mantoolsmedia.com. And thanks to y'all for watching. Check us out on the web at mantoolsmedia.com, and you can get all of our social media at links. That's links with 2 eyes.co/mantoolsmedia. And we will see you next week. Thanks for hanging out again, man. Really had a good time.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Y'all
Good night, everybody. Why can't I find my end credits? Oh, you're there. All right. Good night, everybody.